Hello Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to speak to you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Right, you lot. So what we got on this week's episode? Well, I tell you what, why don't we find out? Unless you're going to go all Spursy on me and bottle it. I strongly suggest you sit yourselves down, put your feet up, and let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Okay, so yet again, another fantastic collection and another fantastic way of displaying it. And there's some real quality pieces that I'm going to be asking about in a bit. It is my pleasure to welcome Adam Berry to the channel. Adam, welcome, sir. How are you?
How you doing? Not too bad. Sorry, I'm just got a bit of problem with light here at the moment. So let me just...
That's okay, no worries.
I might have to keep lighting that up. But yeah, how you doing? How you doing, Stu? It's nice to be on.
Yeah, no, thank you for being on. I recollect we spoke briefly on a Bosk's Bounty Patrons Only live stream a few months back.
That's correct. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So
it was all right. I enjoyed it. Always a good time. So you were saying backstage, you roughly know the episode, the series, rather, shall I say? So basically, I've got 10 questions for you, all about you and your collection and stuff like that. One time, roughly about an hour. If we go over, not a problem. So let's crack on with the first question then.
Let's do it.
What are your childhood memories and what toy lines were you into?
It's an interesting one. That I've been thinking about this a while because obviously I've watched some of your other episodes. So whenever you ask that question, I'm like, it's a mismatch, isn't it? I don't know. With you, I don't know if it's the same with you, but for me, like I think I know what was the first toy line I remember, but then I kind of think, well, actually, that's probably not the case. But I've kind of narrowed it down. And I think the first kind of toy line I ever remember, which is a bit of a rare one, a bit random one. I was early 80s, I was about 3 years old. And I know my dad brought me Dukes of Hazzard, Knickerbocker,
Wow.
like I think it was called like a jump set. So what it was like the two Dukes of Hazzard, or one of the orange kind of car with the
General Lee, yeah.
And it shot up this ramp and then kind of crashed over like a wall or something. It was really random. But funny enough, I have seen one in the wild and I have come close to nearly picking one up. But I definitely got that for my 3rd birthday. So random. Did
that have the pull cord? Did that have the pull cord? Did you put the pull cord in it and pull it and it went up the ramp on its own?
Yeah. It zooms off and and I remember it having like flags like leading up to this ramp thing, and it bashed through what was like a pretend wall. but it was just like basically plastic bricks, which kind of made up a wall. So that was definitely the first kind of toy. And I think for me, it was probably Knight Rider as well. I was desperate for a little Knight Rider car. So they had the first, I wouldn't say toy lines, but they're the first toys I remember. Toy lines. It then kind of goes into your classics, your Transformers, G.I. Joe, Micro Machines, as you've probably seen on, we've been chatting privately, and you've probably seen as well in my Instagram. It's kind of, I don't focus on one sort of toy line. I have quite a few different toy lines that I like to collect.
Yeah.
They're all cool. Childhood memories, basically.
Yeah, sweet. So, which was your favourite and why?
From what, when I was younger or now?
Yeah. Well, when you were younger.
I think if I had to be completely honest, it would probably be G.I. Joe. I know a lot of people would probably say Star Wars, but my introduction to Star Wars, probably because of my age, I'm early 40s. Say that quietly, but my introduction with Star Wars was like Return of the Jedi. So for me, when I was younger, obviously I wasn't alive when New Hope came out or Empire Strikes Back. So for me, the introduction to Star Wars was Return of the Jedi and the Ewoks and stuff like that. So it's kind of fading off really for when I got to that like impressionable age of sort of like 5, 6, 7, and there was more toy lines coming into it. So funny enough, it would be probably Mask toy line, and it's a great toy line. It was only around for about 2 or 3 years, but it's a great toy line, and probably, like I said, G.I. Joe. So if someone had to force me on it, I'd probably say G.I. Joe, controversially.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a lot of the people that I speak to on this series were sort of like born to like mid-70s, so they kind of grew up from like they were probably about 6 or 7 around about the mid-80s when Jedi come out, so they had the experience of having the Star Wars toys, from A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and stuff like that. So I mean, G.I. Joe, I remember that vividly. I didn't have much of myself as a kid, but I always remember going round and playing with a friend every sort of like weekend and like for near enough every day during the summer holidays, and we just had these massive battles with G.I. Joe. I mean, we had other stuff as well, like Subbuteo, Transformers and stuff like that. Do you ever recall going around friends' houses and playing with those guys and doing missions and stuff like that?
Yeah, totally. Like one of my closest friends I've known since I was 4 years old, and I'm still friends with him now today. He had a lot of G.I. Joe as a kid. I remember a lot more of what he had than he remembers, which is really bizarre because he had like the WOW. He had, I think he had a couple of the All Strikers. He just had so much stuff. I remember he had the twin helicopter thing, the Tomahawk. And he had all them, and I was just in awe of it. I think I had a Sky Striker and a couple other little bits and bobs, but and later on I had the Rolling Thunder as well. But he had all the like big hitters. So we'd go around there regularly and we'd play, with that and what we would call war, I guess, kind of thing, and stuff like that. So I remember that. Before then, Transformers, like I said, was a real biggie as well. Again, I didn't have a huge amount. Like some of the pictures, obviously, which I sent you, have some of my childhood Transformers in there. So I have and unfortunately, a lot of them got binned over the years as you move and stuff like that. So one of them things, really. So
do you have many of your toys from childhood then?
Yeah, I have some, but I would say my collection's pretty vast now, and I would say in terms of my collection, I probably only have about 5-10% from my childhood. The rest of it.
I would love that, mate. I would love to have at least one toy item from my childhood. I've not got any, and it thinking about it now, it really does. It kind of grates me a little bit that I never kept one item from my childhood. Just to have on the shelf and say I had that as a kid. That's mine from a kid. And I think it's great that people do still have their stuff from their childhood. I just think that's amazing, and it doesn't matter what condition it's in either.
With regards to Star Wars figures, I've got about 3 or 4 original Star Wars figures which were from my childhood. and my Han Solo Hoth is seen better days, but I will never sell him. I'll never get rid of him. It is from my childhood, and I've not brought a new one. I'm quite happy with having him as that placeholder. Like,
sure.
Run, so it's fine. G.I. Joe wise, I have nothing at all from my childhood. I've had to
really,
wow, everything from that. So, and over the years, I've been collecting about 5-6 years. So over the years, I've done that.
Yeah.
So,
did that stuff get sold on? Did your parents move it on, or did you just get rid of it?
Without going into too much detail, it's just a lot of moving and upheaval as a teenager, and then obviously you get into them teenagers and post-teenage years, and you're interested in going out, playing football, girls, all them kind of things, and you kind of sod the toys. And I probably, in my horrific decision making in my early 20s, when my mum said, "Do you still want these toys?" I went, "No, I'll just bin them, get rid of them."
It happens, mate. It happens. It's one of those things, hindsight's a wonderful thing. That's all I can say. Mm-hmm. But going back to your G.I. Joe days and stuff like that, I'm guessing you watched the cartoons on the Saturday morning. You got the comics. Now, with the fact that they weren't like for like, so the figures Scarlet, and there was a lot of, like, I suppose, inaccuracies within the figures and the cartoon and the comics. Did that ever bother you as a kid, or were you just quite happy to
so for me, I wasn't a massive comic person. I'll be really honest there. So it didn't bother me there. I didn't read any comics. I've never been much of a reader. So I'm sort of someone who's always. I remember watching the cartoons as well, and I think this is something I've heard you mention before. Because we're in the UK, we didn't have some of these things till later on. So I only really remember the weird period when Hasbro kind of brought Palitoy, or the Action Force brand. So you had the G.I. Joe card, but with the Action Force logo on.
That's it, yeah.
And so I don't remember the pre-Action Force, like the Z Force. I don't really remember.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That. For me, it's always been G.I. Joe card with an Action Force brand, and then going into the G.I. Joe livery. So for me, I just wanted the coolest looking one. And that was all I was after, like the baddest looking person, the coolest looking one, the one that had the most weapons or backpacks or whatever else. And that's all I wanted. So
that's fair enough, yeah.
So
because it got to a point with G.I. Joe, I think the early days, especially around about 1982 to, I would say, 1986, I think for me personally, they were probably the best years of G.I. Joe, with the vehicles, the characters they had, and the outfits that they were wearing. And then it started going into all these neo bright colours, and the vehicles got like really wacky. Yeah. And by that time, I was kind of like growing out of it anyway.
Same.
And I just wondered what your take on of those later years for G.I. Joe.
Yeah, you're kind of spot on. For me, even now with the collecting now, there's the golden years, isn't there? Between I would say for me, it's about 84 up to maybe 88, even up to there. You've got some. I think majority of my collection is 86, 87, where I've nearly got the run kind of thing of stuff. So that's kind of, I think, the pinnacle. In terms of, like I said, when we got these figures, so I probably didn't get the 86, 87 run till the late 80s, where I actually physically saw it and got it in my hands. Because I don't know if it's just something I was maybe into something else, or it just didn't quite hit me until then. But I do remember a few things around the late 80s, which were like even when it started to go into the Tiger Force range, which was probably 89, 90. I still quite liked some of that. I was still, but it was probably just after that it started going a bit peculiar, didn't it? And that, so yeah.
I mean, I did. Yeah, I was going to say I didn't mind the Tiger Force, because it was still roughly the same vehicles you had previously, like the Ferret, and then you had the Walker Moccasin and stuff like that. You had the Rattler, but what drew me into Action Force or GI Joe, should I say, is and I think it was like that with a lot of people, was the realism of the vehicles and the weapons and the cost and the outfits and stuff like that. And then for some reason they just started going absolutely bizarre, like these eco warrior type sort of things, and with the bright colours like greens and oranges. And I just thought, do you know what? That's not really what it was all about for me. That's kind of like with Star Wars, you can kind of get away with it because it's a science fiction, it's wacky, it's all made up. With G.I. Joe, it's kind of like a realism. Did you ever read Battle Action Force? Oh, no, because you said you didn't really read comics, but you remember the comic Battle Action Force, or no?
Yeah, I remember the comics. I just didn't used to read them. To be honest.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, fair enough. So you touched on this brief. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I think it's a really interesting thing you say there. I think for me, once they started going really wacky, I'd already left like collecting G.I. Joe or kind of playing with G.I. Joe. I was onto Micro Machines and Turtles, stuff like that. So for me, I'd already kind of moved on anyway. So I think that was a good thing. So I remember seeing it in the shops, but you know, it was just like, I don't like G.I. Joe anymore.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, I was at that age where I'd missed out totally on Micro Machines and Turtles, because I think that was, when was that? That was in the 90s, wasn't it? That was so I was
88, 89, like the Micro Machine stuff. I've just brought a few bits of Micro Machines, like 87, 88. So it was late 80s. Again, you know, we might not have got that in hand to 89, 90, depending on distribution or what your local Asda's or Sainsbury's or whatever had. So
because with Micro Machine, you had the Micro Machines, and then that sort of like fell flat, and then you had like Action Fleet, which was kind of like to me it was like an upgrade, and then that sort of like fell flat because I had a few Action Fleet vehicles and I thought they were pretty cool. And now you've got these what's Galaxy it called now? Galaxies, and there's some of those they're looking pretty cool. I mean, I've got to say,
so
I do like some of those.
I've got more, as in, I've got original Micro Machines. I've got some Action Fleet stuff that crossed over with the Star Wars when they got the licensing for that. And the Galaxy Squadron stuff is really cool. Like, I've recently picked up a few bits from that, but again, my collector kind of mind comes in, and like I like. How can I put? I like the nicer things of the collecting world. So for me, I always want the hard to gets. So like with the Galaxy Squadrons, I've got all like the chases, the 1 in 5,000. They made some limited edition ones. So I've got them ones. I haven't got the bog standard ones because I didn't want the bog standard ones really.
Also,
it's just one of them. I'm a bit.
No. That's pretty cool. So you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. Moving into the next question. When did you stop playing with your toys, and when did you become a collector?
Okay, that's a really good question. So, and this is going to be, I don't know if this is going to be different to other people you've spoke to. I guess it's pretty unique to everybody. So I stopped playing with toys probably around about my early teens, maybe sort of like 12, 13, around that age. I got massively into football. I literally lived, breathed, played football every day. That was the only thing I was really interested in. And I didn't bother getting into collecting or didn't really think about toys unless I was having a nostalgic conversation with a friend till probably about 6 years ago.
Wow, that's quite a while then.
Yeah, and then I just basically decided that it was time to, I don't know, get back into kind of collecting really.
So what gave you that push? What made you go back into collecting then? After, I mean, because that is a long period. I mean, some people that I speak to, they sort of stop playing with their toys, or they keep their toys and what have you, and then it's back in the like mid-20s. But I mean, that's a long period of time without, So what was it that?
It's funny, when I was in my mid-20s, I saw it all in the shops, and I used to go to vintage, or not vintage shops, but like toy shops, and I would kind of see it all, and I'd go, that's pretty cool. But I would never buy anything. I'd just look. And like I said, I was so into football and going out that it just didn't kind of register. And then what happened is about 5-6 years ago, my parents were downsizing and they were moving. And they gave me a load of my childhood toys. But they only gave me, like, literally, I'm talking like a shoebox worth. And I was just like, these are quite cool. And then I thought, I wonder if they're worth anything. And so initially, he was like thinking of just selling them because I thought, I might have a bit of money there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I looked at it, I thought, actually, no, I really like them, and it kind of made me want to collect them. So that's what happened, really.
So, what was the first piece that you collected when you started collecting again?
I think I don't want to say this 100%. It was probably it was in GI Joes, but I think I picked up an All Striker. So the little buggy, and I think I picked up the price, and then I picked up a Sky Striker, and I picked up a Snake Eyes, and then it just kind of grew and grew. But again, then I was like, I didn't have many Star Wars figures as a kid. I had a few, so then I started getting into that. So it still kind of grew. So. And the weird thing is, I didn't have much Star Wars as a child at all because, like I said, the age I was more of that G.I. Joe period. But 50% of my collection now is Star Wars, which is just bizarre. Like 50%, I think only about 35% of it's G.I. Joe, and the rest is a mix. So it's one of the things. Star Wars. I've always loved the films and stuff like that, and it was just. I don't know. I think it's probably because of stuff. There's plenty of it. There's loads of it out there, isn't there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So none of it's really rare. That's what I think people forget. None of this Star Wars stuff is rare. It's been millions made. It's just some bits are harder to find than others, but none of it's overly rare. So you can pick it up if you've got the money. You can pick all of it up quite easily when you think about it. It's not like you can't find a Last 17 figure. You can find a Last 17 figure every day of the week on Facebook, but you've got to have the money to be able to buy one.
That's it. Yeah, right. I mean, we went to Echo last weekend? I think it may well have been. Yeah, last weekend. And my God, it was like, Star Wars convention. Okay, let's just put that. And the prices are incredible. Some of the prices for some of the figures there, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've still got a few of my Last 17 to get. So, I mean, no rush to get those, but I'm glad I got the rest of my Kenner figures when I did, because now I would have been paying well over the odds for them. I mean, I was paying good money. Well, it was good money. I got some of those for a steal, and it scares me to think how much I would be having to pay now just for your normal box standard figure. Do you know what I mean? Not the Last 17. I mean, they're expensive as it is, but some of them are pretty expensive. I mean, the prices have gone. Well, they've gone quite high.
I think it's mad, really, but I don't go in for Last 17 at all. So I've got none, and I'm not really interested in buying any of the Last 17 because of that reason. I think I have no real affiliation to the Last 17. I barely remember them, if I'm completely honest. But I remember the main characters from the original, so I wanted to get some of them. I'm not a completist. So in terms of the final 96, I've probably only got about 45, 50, and I'm fine with that. So it's one of the things. But I do go in for, I think it's probably in the pictures I sent you, I'm quite involved with the TVC line as well. So I do quite a few of them, and I really think that's great. So
I mean, they are. I mean, they've got a lot better. For nostalgia reasons, personally, for me, you can't beat the Kenner 5POA figures. I mean, but that's my personal preference because that's what I was raised on. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, the vintage collection they're pretty cool. They're detailed and the articulation and stuff like that, and they're awesome in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly. So when you weren't collecting and stuff like that, I'm guessing you watch films like the G.I. Joe films, the Transformers films. Did that ever sort of like give you an urge to think, oh yeah, I'll tell you what, I might start. I was into that as a kid. I might start collecting it again, or was it just that shoebox of toys?
Honestly, no, it didn't. Like, no? It gave me nostalgia. Like, I'm big into music and stuff like that. So you'd hear like all the cool soundtracks. Like, even going back to the Bumblebee film a few years ago. Like, obviously, it was set in the 80s. It's got a great 80s soundtrack. I've always been quite a nostalgic person. But it was that shoebox full of toys. That was just that's all that was needed to open up Pandora's box. And now I have an office which is basically a toy room with my work computer in the corner, and I call it an office, but it's like you can't see all the camera, but there's toys there.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think that's awesome, man. That's absolutely awesome, and nothing wrong with that at all. So with your collection, then, do you have a prized piece in your collection? Like, is it if you had to go, shit, I've got to get out, I'm going to take this. What would it be?
I
And
do
why?
actually. I can show you it because I did get it down actually.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'd probably go with the
Hang on
snake
a minute.
on Snake Eyes
Look at that.
card back. I've got it graded as well, so it's graded at 85. But that's I'm trying to think what it is now. Is it 20 back? Oh, it's got it written in there. It's 20 back. So
That is awesome.
It's lovely, and I brought this off of a friend not long ago, probably only about a year ago.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He sold it to me for a really good price, to be fair to him. And I said I'm going to get it graded, and he knew it would be cherished by me. And that's like saying, I love it. I've got a loose one, funny enough, also graded, which has got a 90 on. That's a pretty high grading, but that one I got actually before I got the mint on card. But they're easy to grab, the graded ones, if you were in a hurry. That's my thought process. They're cubes, so you can just quickly carry them. They're protected. So
no, that looks absolutely. They're absolutely fantastic. I will come to those and a bit later, but I've seen your photos and what you did yesterday with your live stream on Insta, and I was just blown away by that Snake Eyes and your Storm Shadow, and I just thought they looked absolutely tremendous, especially the loose. I love the way they've. We'll get to that a bit in a minute, but
so we're going off on a tangent.
So, do you have a Grail piece then? Is there anything that you'd say you'd see and think, oh, do you know what? I don't mind spending a bit of money on that. I love that.
So for me, I my day job is I'm an analyst, so I tend to logically analyze a lot of things. So for me, I've got to put this in different buckets. So if you're talking no money object, like as in money's no object. I think I got that the wrong way around. Money's no object and space is no object. It's got to be a flag without a shadow of a doubt.
God, yeah.
It doesn't even. Wow. I didn't even know this existed until 5 years ago, which I think this is a common thread with people in the UK. And
absolutely.
Because I read somewhere it was like when it was released in America, it was like $89.99 or something. Which
that is incredible, absolutely incredible, isn't it, when you think about it?
£500-600 or something stupid now in today's money. It was a lot of money, you know what I mean? Back in 1985 or whenever it came out. There's probably some purist having a massive go at the camera now watching this going. It weren't that year and it weren't that price, but that's what I read somewhere. But anyway, so that if you're talking something realistic, Blue Snaggletooth. Ken of Blue Snaggletooth has been on my list for about a year and a bit, and I've been speaking to a few dealers in the industry and they all go, when are you going to buy one? And I'm just like, it's still sort of like £400 or £500, so it depends when I've got the money free.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is with that, if that's going to be worth £400 or £500, you want that to be shit hot. You want the feet to have the paint on it. You want it to look absolutely pristine for that kind of money, because I've seen some go for about £300 and the paintwork is pretty worn on the feet and stuff like that. I'm just thinking,
the top end ones, like ones that graded, can go for £600-700. So
absolutely.
It depends what you're kind of getting, but I would probably want to buy one graded if I'm honest. Because I just feel a bit more comfortable with buying one graded personally. When you're spending that kind of money, saying that I do the Snake Eyes, but that had good provenance.
Like I say, if you're going to be paying big bucks out for stuff like that, it's got to be shit hot, in my opinion. But I mean, it's like going back to Echo Base. There was a partially opened or partially sealed Luke Bespin. He was asking for 600.
Wow,
600 quid. And if the guy's watching, I doubt it. But dude, I mean, if you're going to pay that kind of money, you don't want it partially sealed. You want the whole thing sealed. You want it in pristine condition.
If that was sealed, it'd probably double that. Like, I'm again, someone's probably shouting at the camera going, no, you're really off on your prices there. But it would be a lot more. That's the thing. Like, you're right though. mint on card Star Wars stuff like Kenner stuff goes for big money. Like let's be honest, it does. Like if it's in good condition, you can pick up some for maybe sort of £300-400 or a couple hundred quid even, but they're not going to be in the best of conditions. But it depends on what you're after. Like I'm quite into having everything complete. So like if I buy a loose figure, it must be complete. It must have all its weapons. I don't want to be faffing about trying to find weapons. So
no, because they're expensive on their own. They're expensive on their own.
It does cost you a lot more in the long run. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Again, going back to the USS Flag. Again, like you, as a kid, we didn't have the internet back in those days, so I had no idea the USS Flag was actually a toy. It was the same with the Terradrome. It was the same with the Defiant.
Yep.
Do you feel in the future, seeing as Hasbro have done a HasLab Sky Striker, they would tempt to do a HasLab G.I. Joe USS Flag?
It's definitely a HasLab kind of item. I think that's the thing. Whether they can, and you've got to look at it from a business point of view, whether they think they can hit the profit margins on producing a toy that's 7 foot long, and boxing that up and kind of, and if they think they can make it for whatever amount and be able to, get a healthy profit margin on it, I think they would probably do it. But then saying that, if it's HasLab, it will only get made if it's funded. So, what's the price going to be of it? £1,000, £1,500?
No, there you are. That's it. That's the thing, isn't it?
I think I watched a program the other day, and someone brought up this, and I think it's a live stream, and I can't see it being less than sort of £800. Like, and that would be, I think it's going to be about £1,000, surely, isn't it? So, and then it's the space. Like I could easily say, I'll definitely back it. But in reality, I'd get it through and I'd be like, it's got to go in my lap.
Where am I going to put it?
Have a coffee table, I'll just have a flag. Like,
that is the problem. That is the problem. I mean, listen, I would have loved to have been a kid in the States back in the day when they released that originally for $89 or however much it was. I mean, shit, I would have been all over that like a bloody rash. But can you imagine people getting that home and going, we'll buy that, and they buy it, and then the parents are opening it up and they're like, what the, where are we going to put this? Yeah, I mean, you've got the space in some of the houses in America,
basements, haven't they, and stuff like that.
And
I'm making massive assumptions here, but I'm guessing a lot of kids in America in that time had basements. They had the space for doing all this, or we've got a premium on space in the UK, really, haven't we? So like, we have. It's
fantastic. But I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the other people on YouTube and stuff like that, what they do with their flags, where they sort of like customize it and do bits underneath and stuff like that. It's just incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I mean, if I had the room and the money, I would be getting one of those. I was asked once, what would I get? Would I get the USS Flag or would I get the sail barge? And at the time, I turned around and said, I get the USS Flag for the simple reason, because it's an original piece. Yeah. The sail barge wasn't back from like a vintage piece. It was, it's a vintage collection, but it's not a vintage piece from the 80s. So it was never built in the 80s or made in the 80s. Didn't have it as a kid. So anyway, as things transpire, I've got a sail barge and I don't have the flag. So, what can you do?
Sail barge is still cool, though. It's
absolutely. I mean, it's a fantastic piece. Absolutely fantastic.
I wasn't into TVC when that was the HasLab, funny enough. My TVC journey has only kind of started in the last sort of year and a half, 2 years. I was still kind of doing the vintage thing, like as in, the 80s stuff. And and I'm really bad with the HasLabs. I didn't back the Sky Striker, which I think I told you.
Oh, wow.
I've got a vintage one.
You got one. You got, and that's fair enough.
I need another one. And then as they kind of brought out the card backs and the figures, I was like thinking, and then the time I kind of thought, let's do this, it had already shut. And I thought, you know what? I think it weren't meant to be. So
that's fair enough. Fair enough.
I've kind of made peace with that. But they were awesome. I've seen your video, I've seen some other people's videos of opening them, and they did look like they knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know there's been some issues with them, but I mean, again, it goes back to that. You're paying the money, you want the quality for it, and I can understand people's grievances and stuff like that. I mean, with the Scarlet, she didn't have the handle to her crossbow. I mean, I'm not going to open those, so I'm going to keep them on the card. So to me, that's not like a deal breaker, but I can imagine people's frustration when they did open it and they found out that she couldn't hold it, or So I do understand their frustration.
All off to UKG to the graders. Like them card backs would have got every single one graded.
Yeah, that is my plan at some point. Yeah. I mean, I've got to wait for the pennies to be a bit kinder.
Yeah, that's not a cheap job. Stuff.
Yeah. So, well, listen, I mean, again, like you, I wasn't too into TVC until 2020, and of course, we all know what happened in 2020. We're all bored out of our brains, so we just hit YouTube and stuff like that. And it's thanks to people like Bosk's Bounty and Only One Kenobi that I thought, wow. Look at this stuff. Look at this barge. And unfortunately, because HasLab didn't offer the barge to the rest of the world, only the States, I had to get mine on the secondary market. And I will say no more about
that. Has your wife forgiven you yet?
Has she forgiven me? Do you know what? She took it quite well, because I used to get stuff delivered to my mum and dad's.
Right.
Because I've worked like funny hours and stuff like that, and I was never always going to be in. They retired, so they spend most of their time in. So we got round there and we opened the hallway door and walked in, and I was like, wow. And this thing was huge. This box was huge, and she just looked at me, and I just went, it's all right, isn't it? But yeah, no, it's all good, all good. Moving on. This is what I'm going to find really interesting. What got you into bootlegs, and what got you into grading your figures? Because I've got some pictures that I want to put up, and I'll put the first one up. So let's just look at this one. I mean, that absolutely tremendous. I mean, I love that. That's Hawk as well, isn't it? So
yeah, Hawk's quite an easy one to get. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
like, to get a card back of Hawk like that, there is a few variants. That one's a body transfer variant. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, he's got like a free body transfer. So behind him in the bubble, there is a tattoo, basically, or a water kind of transfer tattoo. But that one's, I think I picked that up of Vectus, the auction house, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then obviously the Snake Eyes I picked up from a friend of mine who'd had it since his early 20s. He's about my age. And he'd picked it up for cheap somewhere, and he'd had it 20 years stuffed in a drawer, and he said, he just could do with the money, so I grabbed it off of him.
That is remarkable to see that card, and that's been in a drawer for 20 years. I mean, and that's not a bad grading for that, is it? 85.
No, he looked after it really well. It's got some vein, I think, on it somewhere, which probably let it down. But I think the sub scores, just having a look at the sub scores, the card was 80. Bubble was 85 and the figure was 85. So the card probably let it down from getting straight 85s. But to be honest, he's still an immaculate card. And it's an archival case. Both of them are archival cases, so they shouldn't fade, hopefully. But what got me grading, there is one man responsible for this, and that's John Ruler, the action figure.
Oh, John Ruler. Yes. Yes, I know John Ruler.
Man who got me into grading. I can't remember when I came across John on YouTube, and we just become like good friends. We chat quite a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, I love the idea of grading. I know he grades pretty much everything. Which is his thing. My thing, I tend to go for the slightly things that I feel are worth degrading. That's just in my opinion. So with our high item or a slightly odd, like an oddity, like something which isn't quite the norm. Hence bootlegs in a way. So I think they're worth grading because I just think they're different and a bit weird and stuff like that. So he's the man really responsible. He probably doesn't know that. And when he watches this,
he will now. Yeah,
like he's probably the man responsible for getting me into grading. Because I didn't. Again, when I first started collecting, probably about 5-6 years ago, I didn't even really know about grading. A mate of mine
likewise.
Yeah, mate of mine was into computer games, and he said, "Oh, you can get them graded." And I was talking to him about it, and then just coming across John on YouTube and finding out what he'd got graded and stuff like that. I was just like, okay, this is something I'd be interested in. I know it's not for everybody, and there's probably a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people don't like grading. They don't agree with it, or they just don't like it, etc. But I think the odd pieces, I've got a lot of loose stuff. You can see behind me.
Yeah,
I do like the loose stuff.
Yeah.
I think for certain pieces, and it's worth doing.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, what I love about collecting, and this is there's no right way of collecting, there's no wrong way of collecting. It's a personal choice. I can tell you now, I'm not going to have anybody tell me how I should collect, what I should collect, what I should do with my collection. I show my collection off, and people enjoy watching that. That's great, fantastic. I appreciate watching other people's videos. I enjoy seeing their collections, and I'm interested to see how other people collect and how they set their collections up and stuff like that. But I don't think it's right that people should get funny and precious about how people collect and what they do with their collections. I mean, example, I sent off a photo of my loose graded Princess Leia embossed disguise to John, and he just said to me, just be careful. He said, because there are certain Facebook groups out there that could ban you from that. Well, I'm not on Facebook anyway, so, but the card was beat. It was a beat up card, and I just thought I've got a better chance of getting a decent grade with it being loose than what I have done if I send it off and get it graded. And that's what I've done. So that's my choice. That's for me, right? No one else can tell me how I should collect.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So there's that. I
completely agree with that. I know, again, like, I've not got any in that position where, but I have heard about, like, people don't like people taking stuff off cards and stuff like that. And that's fine. I can kind of understand it, but I can also understand if the card's beaten up and it's really been run over and looks a complete mess, then, it's probably nicer and better preserved.
And better presented. Yeah.
Represented.
I mean, look, I'm absolutely with you. I agree. Well, I don't agree, but I can see their point of view that there's more loose figures out there than there is carded figures. Now, if that card was pristine and in decent condition, there is no way on God's earth I would have taken that off the card. I would have kept it on the card, and I would have probably sent it in to get graded on the card. But because it was proper beat, it was just creased and everything like that. And I just thought, you know what? It will be a better display piece loose. And I got not a bad score for it. I got 85%. So I'm fairly happy with that.
Yeah. But like you said, it's down to personal preference.
Absolutely.
I know obviously the grading companies won't take it off the card for you now. That's just their view on it. And I completely understand.
Well, not if it's before 1990, they won't. Anything after 1990, then they will do, well, that's UKG. I don't know about anybody else.
I think it's, AFA, I'm just trying to think what AFA do. I know they don't grade loose figures anymore. They're not taking loose figures on anymore. So, but I don't know the rules around it because I've only ever used UKG. But, no. It's like I said, it's each their own, I guess, in that respect.
Absolutely. Right, just want to show this because... So what have we got here?
We've got some Russian Oritet figures. So they're bootlegs. They're not. Yeah. Again, these are not rare. These are quite plentiful. But at the same sort of time, they are, I think, quite odd and weird. And the reason they're weird is because obviously they're bootlegs. So, they weren't allowed to have the franchise, or they didn't have the franchise, and therefore they had to make them slightly different to the license figures. So although you can tell what they are weird colours. Like you've got your Boss Skinny's pink flights. So there's a couple of Chewbacca's there. It doesn't show in the picture, but the top one is like a darker brown and the bottom one is a gold. It's a really, really like a metallic gold. And then what I always find funny is Darth Vader looks really tiny. He's got no cape. Apparently there is a version with a cape out there, which is quite hard to find. But it's the lightsaber just is a sword. which I think is brilliant. Like he's just literally like a sword. And I just find it weird. Like for me, they're oddities, and they them kind of things I think look better graded. So that's just, then like I said, they're quite modern. I think they're late 90s, early 2000s, because they're based off of the molds.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've never been into bootlegs, and I'm not too sure whether that's another rabbit hole I want to go down, because again, it's money and space, and I'm not rolling in either of it at the moment. I'm doing okay, but space-wise, I am proper struggling at this moment in time. I've got one more, which I just absolutely love. This is absolutely tremendous. They look absolutely fantastic in those displays. They really do. The way they've set them out with the file cards, the weapons, and the figure, I just absolutely love those. They are amazing.
I've got them all here actually, but they are pretty cool. So there's the old. Where are we going?
Let's get you up on the big screen there.
There's the old the false Outback.
I
originally brought that off of what's that one? Originally brought that off of an auction site. And it wasn't eBay. It was like a proper online auction. This I brought off of a guy off a Facebook group. And it was such a nice. When I got it through, the limbs were really tight on it, and I thought, that's got to be graded. And I brought it a file card lot, and I love the way they've encased, his backpack kind of thing.
Absolutely. What grade today so far?
So we've got an 85 for the Tiger Force, and I think let me just have a look at so it says figure 90.
Yeah.
Paint 85. So
okay.
So that was the figure. I don't even think like that to get a figure 90, like a figure that old, and that was European exclusive, that Tiger Force Outback. So you didn't get it in America. It's only been available in Europe. To get it 90, it couldn't have been played with. Like it looked like it hadn't been played with at all. The Storm Shadow is figure is 80, paint's 80, so straight 80. Then that was.
But even still, it just looks absolutely fantastic. Loving it.
And this one's the real nice one. So this, I picked up loose about 2 years ago, and I brought it off for someone. It had really good provenance. It was her son's favourite figure as a kid, and she was just sort of selling some figures, and she said they're quite happy to let it go. And I knew it was really good condition when I got it, because it looked virtually brand new. It's loose, but it looked brand new, and that got figure 90, paint 90. So it's a straight 90, but a 90.
Wow, that's just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
The irony is the mint on card hasn't even got as good a score as that looks.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? It's the card back. I mean, you've only got have a little dink in that card, and that will send that'll lower the grading on it. That's all it takes, because you said there might have some veining on there or something, and that's what's kind of like lowered it. But
or like edgeware, which is like little bends in the edges, and you know, cards they were easily kind of kids. We wore them. We didn't care about the cards. We wanted to get into them toys as soon as possible.
No, God, yeah. I mean, toys back those days, they were meant for playing. I mean, I just cannot imagine if I went back in time and told my future, myself in the past, right, I'm from your future, do this, and this. I mean, wow, we'd be sitting on gold mines, absolute gold mines.
Yeah,
with some of that stuff.
If it was Star Wars, you could definitely probably pay off your mortgage. So
absolutely.
Catch that Morphe auction a couple of weeks ago in America.
I didn't see it. I saw bits of it from John Reeder. He did a.
I think he added up, didn't he, all the final sales prices, and it came to like 800 grand.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
They weren't all from the same find. They were like, but it's just like outright. They were some.
Absolutely.
I would say some above average prices going down on there, from what I understand. Like from what I've seen from other people. Like I think a Boba Fett went for like 14, 15 thou, which is probably only got to about 11,000. It was a early card, but still, like wow, like.
Well, I've said to John. I've said to John on numerous occasions, I cannot understand the prices these are going for, especially within the time we're living at the moment with the financial difficulties and everything like that, and what's going on in the world and cost of living and stuff. And he just said that's how the the big kids play with the money. You know, the high end, the real, it's just that's how they live. That's what they, you know, that's what they can afford to do. Do you know what I mean? And it's just incredible. And I just I don't. Do you know what? I don't know if I'd enjoy having that amount of money to spend that amount of money on something like that. Do you know what I mean? Well, I don't know whether I get enjoyment out of that.
Without getting too deep, that's the thing, isn't it? Where does it become? Like, I think sometimes because most people are, they got their hands tied by financial implications because they've got to pay bills, pay mortgages, pay rent. You know, when you do get your hands on a figure that you might have saved for a couple of months, or you've had to sell a couple of other figures to get it, I think you appreciate it more.
Absolutely.
If you're a multimillionaire or you're a very wealthy person and you can just drop 15, 20 grand on a card back, do you really kind of value it as much as someone? I don't know. Only the person who brought it would know that. But you know what I mean? It's just,
unfortunately, I doubt we'll ever find out because I don't think we're ever going to get to speak to someone who's going to be able to afford to spend 15, 20K on it or more on a car back. Yeah. Unbelievable.
If I do the lottery and I win it, I'll come back and I'll tell you.
Oh, you're on, mate. Absolutely. We'll have an exclusive.
Yeah.
If you could only now collect one toy line, what would it be and why? So going forward with space and money, you could only collect one toy line. What would it be and why?
That's really difficult. The majority of my collection is Star Wars. I know that. So that would be like the one I'd have most of. So if I got rid of everything else, I'd be like, well, at least I've still got a fair few amount of toys. And I do love Star Wars. But I'm going to go with G.I. Joe.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go G.I. Joe or left field. I could be swayed into Mask. Mask, I really love that toy line.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting on the fence here a bit. I've given you 3 there, haven't I? G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe. No, again, I mean, it's this is why I love asking these questions because everybody's got like a different answer. They say, well, and when I ask them, I think they're fairly easy questions and stuff like that. But then I'm not answering them, so
No.
But yeah, I mean, it can be a tough choice, especially because, like you say, you've got a lot of Star Wars. You love G.I. Joe, but then Mask. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Luke Reynolds' Mask collection. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic with the boxes, the way he's got it displayed. And they just look absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I've not met Luke, but I've had conversations with him privately.
Yeah, top guy. He's a top guy.
He seems a lovely bloke, and I think he does actually follow my account as well on Insta. He's got a wicked collection, and to be honest, like I said, I'm no aficionado on Mask at all. Like I've been collecting masks for probably a couple of years. I just love the toy line. I had a lot of it as a kid. Again, it went the way of a lot of my childhood figures and is in a landfill somewhere or whatever, unfortunately. But I do love Mask. This engineering and the technical aspect of what went into that is amazing. Like, as in for these mid-80s figures, like I've got a couple of bits recently actually, and just it blows me away. Like, it really blows me away. So it's an underrated line. And I had my birthday recently, and my parents went to me, "Oh, what do you want?" And I said, "I don't really want anything. Whatever I want, I buy myself," kind of thing. I said, don't save your money. But I did say actually, and because I haven't got it, and they brought me the full DVD box set of all the Mask cartoons.
Oh, okay, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I did ask for that, and so I haven't got round. I've watched most of them over the years on YouTube and stuff like that, but I wanted to do on DVD. So I'm going to sit at one point and do that.
That's awesome. I mean, I was in a similar situation to you over Christmas. I was umming and ahhing about what I wanted, and then I started because I'm quite into like DC and the Batman figures and stuff like that. And there's a lot of quality animated series figures that they've done. And they used to do loads of them in Forbidden Planet, and I can't see him for idle bloody loving the money now. But people going on about this Batman animated series, and I just thought, what is the? And I've never sort of really sat down and watched it. So I asked my mum and dad for the old DVD Blu-ray box set of the Batman animated series over Christmas. Got that for Christmas and started watching it, and it's tremendous. absolutely tremendous. Yeah, it's amazing. So
it is a bit weird though, and it's not weird, but I always find it funny, and I always have to chuckle to myself that I'm surrounded by toys and I watch a lot of cartoons. And like, and it's just like that's pretty much, when I'm not working or doing the normal things in life, like seeing mates and going out and stuff like that. I'm sitting watching cartoons and surrounded by toys. I don't know. There's something funny about that, but in a good way.
No, there's no. There's nothing funny about that at all. I like watching cartoons. I'll sit in bed on a Saturday morning. Yeah. I'll either watch YouTube videos and stuff like that I need to catch up on, or I'll sit and watch cartoons. So or if I get home from work and I'll just stick a Batman in, or I'll watch Bad Batch or whatever. I do not care. I used to worry about what people thought, but now I don't give a monkey's backside what people think. I'm doing what I'm enjoying, so that's all that matters, and that's what it's about. It's about having fun. You've got to switch off from the real world, and that's how we do it. Right, moving on. Question number 8 then. Would you ever consider doing a YouTube channel?
In short, yes and no. So no, yes, I would consider it, but I don't think I ever will. If that makes sense, because I've thought about it before, but I think my Insta is my creative outlook. So for me, like a lot of my friends said to me, like who are collectors as well, but they may not have as big as collections or as vast as collections, but they were going to me, "Oh, you've got so much stuff and you've got some real weird stuff. You need to get it out there." And I actually thought for a while that I needed kind of that like outlet to get it out there and kind of just show it to people. And if 10 people viewed it or 100 people viewed it, then great. And so I think I've got that with my Instagram. My Instagram's pretty. It only set up 5 weeks ago. I haven't been doing it long. So.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very relatively new.
Wow. So, okay. Please.
Yeah. So it's just saying. So like I said, I've been collecting for 5 years, I would say, and I've been on groups and I've been speaking to people and stuff like that. And I watch YouTube all the time, but my Insta is relatively new, and I'm fine with Instagram. YouTube, I don't know. I don't think so. I like the idea of it, but I don't think so. I think there's a lot of people out there doing similar stuff, and you could say, is there a market for someone else coming in and doing the same thing that everybody else is doing? And I'm not sure there is. Like we've mentioned a lot of these people, but John Ruler, there's loads of people. There's obviously Tim at Boss Bounty. There's you said Nick at Obi-Wan Kenobi, only one Kenobi. There's a load of people doing this kind of stuff, and there's yourself as well. And I don't know if everybody wants another person doing that. So the Insta's fine. I feel like I don't have to put my mug on there. I can just put my toys on there, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So, and I love having the conversations. What I've really noticed on my Instagram is having the conversations with people. It's like, people, like I had it earlier on today, someone wrote on one of them talking about a mask toy, and they were going, "Oh, I remember this from childhood and stuff like that." And I love that. That to me is like getting that kind of feedback and just hearing people like the items and they remember things from the items is what it's about. It's like sharing memories, I guess, in a really kind of cheesy way.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, I personally, and I've said this loads and loads of times, I feel that because I only started my channel last year, in March time. As well. I'm fairly new. Yeah, I'm still a bit wet behind the ears with certain things, but listen, you get so many, like you say, you've got so many people doing roughly the same things, and they've all got their. I mean, Tim, he's great at giving us the latest updates and the news on the TVC. I mean, he's an ambassador, in my opinion, for TVC. And it's the same with Nick. I mean, Nick's collection, loose and carded, I just think is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And then you've got like people like John Ruler who give you the market updates and stuff like that on the figures and stuff. Everybody brings their own thing to it. I mean, I was watching Zero Hunter Toys today, Matt, and his customs that he does is absolutely fantastic. He's done the Tauntaun, he's done the Kadu, the 12-inch ones and stuff like that, and absolutely phenomenal. And you know, and a lot of people do reviews, and that's one thing that I don't do. I kind of like do an overview, but I would never do a proper figure review. And like I said, I've said loads of times, if it wasn't for this series, I don't think I would really have a channel, because it would just be me opening up boxes and putting them on display. That's it. Who wants to see that? Well, maybe people are thinking, who wants to watch this? I don't know, but you know, it's your choice. But
I was just about to say, there's always someone who will want to watch it. I do think that, and there's always, and I think it's not even about who's watching it. For me, the reason I set up my Instagram is I needed an outlet to kind of. I like what I've collected, and I'm quite proud of some of the items I have, and I want to kind of show them to the world. And like I said, if 10 people followed me or 100 people followed me, then great. But that was kind of, I needed that outlet. And, you know, because I would bump into people, and they wouldn't even be people in the toy collecting community. They'd just be people I knew. And I'd start talking to them, and I'd say, oh, I collect vintage toys. And they were like, oh, show me a couple of pictures. Now it's a lot easier just to give them my Instagram. I'm just like, just have a look on my Instagram. And like, and they like look on it and they're like, oh my God, this is awesome and stuff like this. And it's just, I find it a lot. It just makes more sense. It's in one. Like I said, I like to pigeonhole things. I like to put things in places.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what I like about this series as well, is because it's not just YouTubers that I chat to. I mean, I think I've chatted to about 4 or 5 people now who don't have an Instagram. They don't have a YouTube channel, and they have no intention, but they've got such a fantastic collection. And I think, and doing this, it gives you the platform to sort of like speak about your collection, tell your kind of story and stuff like that, and show your collection off, and that kind of gets it out there as well. So, you know, that's one thing I do like about this series anyway, because you speak to all sorts of people.
I'm a big into like watching YouTube, and I'm patron to the people on YouTube who I feel like who add something to my world, whether it be, you know, an update or be able to give me information on something. You know, I'm all for, like, you know, being patrons to people like that. Like I said, we're both Tim Boss Bounty's patrons of Boss Bounty and stuff like that. And I'm all for that because I know the work that goes into it, even the work that goes into what you're doing. It's not like a 5-minute thing. Even what I do on Instagram, people, I don't like. I've got a job. I've got a day job. So, you know, this. I still edit all the videos up, put them out there. You know, it still takes a bit of time, but I'm getting to grips with it now.
You're doing all right. I mean, it's like, you know, I tuned in yesterday, and I was it was pretty cool to watch you open those boxes and see the grading and stuff like that. And like I say, those graded G.I. Joe figures you got are just, especially the loose ones, are just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Right, we're coming up to the hour. Not a problem. We've got 2 questions left. What gives you that toy collecting buzz?
That's a good question. For me, it's just getting something. I feel like it's a cheesy answer, and it's probably an answer everybody has said, but it's the only way I can explain it. For me, it's probably getting something that kind of reminds me of being a kid, like, and reminds me of having that buzz of Christmas time or birthdays. Then I would just tear it open like a wild animal, like trying to get at this figure. Now I just look at it like as if it's some sort of holy grail kind of item. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so pretty. So, you know, and
absolutely.
So that, I guess that's the answer to the question. It's just like, it's getting something like I shouldn't be, but I'm constantly buying stuff. Like, you know, and I sell a bit as well. Like, you know, I do move things on to be able to buy other things and stuff like that. I probably sell about 20% of what I buy, roughly. So, you know, I'm always moving bits on. So, you know, I don't ever flip anything because I'm not really a flipper. Like, I get things and I'll have something in my collection for a year or 2 and I'll be like, I don't know if I really want that anymore. Like, I do get a bit like that. And I'm like, it doesn't give me the buzz anymore. But I want that. So I'll tell you what, I'll sell that one so I can buy that. Like,
well, listen, that's a fair way of doing it. I mean, I think quite a few people do that as well. I know a few people a couple of people anyway that do that. So there's nothing wrong with that. If you're buying it or selling it, if you're selling it and what I don't like is when people sell it and then they try and make a massive profit on things. You know, for me, that's not what it's about. I'm not about that. I'm just, if there's a bit of value to it, then yeah, try and, you know, get a decent price for it. But then you're putting that back into your own collection. You're putting that back into the, you know, getting something that you want, but you've got to move something on to get that. You know, don't have a problem with that.
I've moved something on which I feel like I've enjoyed for a year or two or however long it's been, and someone else can get that enjoyment out of it. And I've moved something on.
Yeah.
I genuinely, before that money even hits my account, I've normally already bought another piece to go in this price. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So you don't see the money anyway. Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, I had the majority of the Z Force, Action Force, Z Force stuff, and I just thought, you know, I remember it as a kid, but I was more into GI Joe and not Action Force, and I want it, and I was like, no, I don't want to move anything else on. So I, you know, spoke to a friend, and he's now got it, Scuba Pete, and I know that it's in a good home, and he loves that sort of stuff because it's hard to get in the US. So I was happy to sell that to him. He's got it, and it's looking good in his collection, and I'm happy that he's got that in his collection because it's gone to someone that's going to appreciate it. And that's that's another thing I like. And talking about seeing stuff, I mean, I showed you this morning, or I showed on Instagram, I got these, I found these today. Absolutely incredible. I never knew these were still going. Never knew these were still going.
Up until about 6 months ago, and I randomly researched them and realised they were still going. The factory, funny enough, is not too far from me, where they make it. They're brilliant, and we were talking before we started this. There is one they haven't made. I don't know why. So there's one in the original run of 12 or whatever from the 80s that they haven't made in the modern run. I had a whole modern run of 12 of them at one point, and I took them around my family's, my nephews at Christmas, and we got them out and played because they're modern, they're not vintage.
Yeah,
we ripped them open and threw them across his kitchen.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, it was quite good. Trying to get them to get the furthest one. I worked out this bit of a trick to it. You have to kind of aim them down, and then what they do is they catch the air a bit like, I guess, a kite, a hang glider does, and it catches the air and then shoots up.
Oh, awesome! Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with those. I love the packaging. So
they're not like vintage. So to get them out and play.
No, I know they're not vintage, but. I don't know. We'll see. I might get some. They're cheap enough.
Vintage, but they're obviously a bit more than the modern ones.
Yeah. But I know, like I say, I was absolutely astounded that I saw them. I was just like, oh wow, look at these, absolutely fantastic.
When I sold a few bits before Christmas, actually, like I was just moving a couple of bits on, I put them in as free gifts.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I just chucked them in the boxes, and people would get these and they'd be like, cheers for the plane. That really took me back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. It just a real bloody nostalgia buzz that was seeing those.
Yeah, cool, mate. I used to go to my local like corner shop, and be obsessed with them, buying them. So sorry, I digress.
No, that's absolutely quality. Right, last question then. What does your collection mean to you?
I guess for me, it just reminds. Again, it's similar to the question earlier. Really, I guess for me, it's a bit. I guess it's a bit like a time machine, isn't it? I can come into this room, and I know pretty much every collector will say this has got a collection room. I can come into this room, and I can just look at these, smile, and look at them, pick them up, be tactile with some of them, clean them or whatever, put them back, and I just get that little bit buzz. So I guess for me, it's just like, it reminds me of them carefree kind of no responsibility days of being a kid. Where the only thing you cared about was school ending because you didn't want to be there after time, and getting to the 6 weeks holiday so you could play with your mates, and that was what it was all about, really. And Saturday morning cartoons. So
Absolutely. Oh no, I mean, that question always sort of like evokes roughly the same sort of answer, but it's awesome, absolutely awesome. Right, well, that's come to the end of it, mate. That's just been over an hour, and I say it every week, this hour just flies by. Absolutely flies by, and it's been an absolutely fantastic chatting to you. It's been a great chat. I've loved chatting to you like, properly. Because we like I say we've sort of like briefly sort of had a hello and sort of stuff before on Tim's Patreon live stream. Where can people find you on social media?
So yeah, well, in terms of toy stuff, no one really wants to see the personal me because that's boring. But in terms of toy stuff, it's the Real Toy Dude on Instagram. So that's the only place I show off any of my collection. So yeah, Real Toy Dude on Instagram.
Awesome. What I'll do is when this is done, I shall add your link to the description below.
Cool.
Right. All I've got left to say is thank you very much, people, for watching. And thank you for taking part and taking time to do this. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to Adam. It really has. This has been Adam, the Real Toy Dude. And again, thank you for watching, and we shall see you in the next video. Take care and bye for now. Ta-da.